Yeah, another 100 and so metres to go and we'll have a good rest.
There's no way you can get bored with volcanoes. They have the potential to destroy places. They have a strange beauty about them, even in their most desolate times. I'm Elena Moretti and I'm researching geology at the University of Bristol. The main objectives of my research on Salina is to discover whether the change to explosive activity on Pollara was a result of changes in the depth of the magma storage areas, or whether they were caused by something more fundamental like a change in the shape of the eruption vent. Salina is the largest of the Aeolian islands. They all lie north of Sicily and they are all volcanic in origin. Salina is made up of two great stratocones. They're the most dramatic landforms, but they're not the most recent volcanic centres of activity. From the earliest eruptions to the last eruption, there was a decline in the amount of subduction signature. But recently, the upper Pollara has returned to more fluid-based, subduction-related geochemical signatures, following the same pattern as Stromboli. And that gives even more evidence for Salina still being a live volcano. So I'm looking for small dark samples that hopefully contain large crystals that I can analyse and that also include trapped melt inclusions. The reason why we get so excited about melt inclusions is it doesn't just trap the mineral content, but it traps the gases too. And we can use the CO2 and the H2O, water, levels to determine the pressure or the depth at which these magmas were sitting when they formed. The Pollara eruptions were fairly significant in terms of the history of the island. The first part was a lava flow, the second two eruptions were both explosive and would be intensely dangerous to the local population if they were to be repeated. However, the eruptions we're studying are the most recent and they're centred around this depression in the northwest of the island called the Pollara Depression. Today I'm hoping to find a few more of these mafic samples and that will make a good start to today's journey. Okay, so we're at the Punta di Perciato and today Sandy is going to get me some samples by kayak. Sandy's going to use her kayak to go around and get some samples from the Punta di Perciato lava flow, which forms an arch just around the corner from here. There have been samples taken of the outcrop, but in different places inland. Nobody's actually sampled the arch, as far as I'm aware. So this arch was laid down in the first part of the eruptions of the Pollara. It was a lava flow. It oozed out from a crater into the sea, and the arch has been created by various bits falling away. If we can get some good samples of this, because it cools faster, it may have some melt inclusions in it. Oh, these are very promising. So we've got some plagioclase in there, and we've got some nice dark, probably amphiboles. Excellent stuff. Let's bag and tag at the top.
All right, okay, cracking.
I'm hoping that she's going to get some good samples from the top of the lava flow. She's been lowered down and rescued, hopefully, a bit of clinker samples. The reason why I'm after the clinker is because it's cooled quicker. So if it's cooled quickly, there's more chances to trap the melt. And it's the melt that gives us so many extra bits of information. This is exactly what we want. This rather rough, open-pored surface. The minerals will have cooled quickly and hopefully we've trapped melt inclusions in here, so job done. We've now come back from Salina and returned to the University of Bristol, where we're going to work on some of the samples that we got while we were out there. I'm particularly interested in the samples from the Upper Pollara and the Punta di Perciato. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to get some melt inclusions, and I now can look at the water content of that lava flow and compare that to the melt inclusions I got in the Upper Pollara. So there's a big difference in the amount of water, and it explains why the one was explosive and the other came out as a lava. To get whole rock chemical analysis, we have to first of all crush the rock down to a fine powder. Or we can actually look at it in sections. To do that, we have to cut the rock into a little block and do a thin section analysis. The thin section can be used to analyse petrology of the samples. So I can look at what minerals are present and decide how many clinopyroxenes there are. And this gives me something about the magma and what conditions the magma was at when it formed. Stromboli is an active volcano, whereas Selene is currently dormant. But the main reason for going is that Stromboli actually has a lot in common. It's part of the same island chain. I'm trying to constrain the whole sequence from the lava flow to the final explosive stages to understand why it began so benignly and later evolved into this more dangerous and violent series of eruptions.
Stromboli is a stratovolcano. It's about 920 metres tall. So we've just climbed 700 metres from the town of Stromboli. Behind me now we're having a little bit of an eruption. I'm kind of tempted to turn around and watch it, but they are quite regular. Oh, that's lovely. So we can see some cinders and some ash being thrown up. The ash is of course very light and rises. And the cinders are the red things you can see. Very, very exciting. Gets every volcanologist happy when they see the red stuff. Stromboli has 3 active craters. The furthest and the nearest both exhibit this regular puffing and choking of strombolian activity that we've just witnessed, whereas the centre crater tends to effervesce almost constantly and you get this effusion of gas all through the day. I think any volcanologist who claims that they're not excited by sitting on the top of an active volcano are actually being rather a bit of an old fart. I think you can't resist it really, it's magical.